What is going on, guys? My name is the California Cougar, and welcome to my review of Survivor 42. So, last night, Survivor 42 concluded, and today I'm going to be talking about it. So, Survivor 42. Basically, it was a repeat of Survivor 41 with a couple of different changes and a new cast. That's pretty much what the season was. They still kept the whole 26 days thing. It still started with 3 tribes. There was no tribe swap. They kept a lot of the same twists that were in Survivor 41. So, yeah, it was basically another version of Survivor 41, essentially. Now, for those of you that don't already know, I hated Survivor 41. I thought it was a horrible season, and honestly one of the worst seasons the show's ever had. The more I think about it, the more I absolutely hate it. It's probably the worst season since Game Changers at the very least, possibly even Worlds Apart. Like, it's that bad. I hated the cast, I hated the twists, I didn't like the winner. I thought that was very unsatisfying. But yeah, like, Survivor 41, just not a good season by any stretch of the imagination. So, going into Survivor 42, I was looking forward to it, but also very skeptical because I knew a lot of the same things that made Survivor 41 so bad were going to be coming back in this season. So my expectations were kind of mid-range, I guess you could say. Like, I wasn't necessarily super excited for it, but I wasn't dreading it either. I thought, okay, with this cast, maybe we could have some good moments. Maybe it'll at least be better than 41. And I'm happy to say it is better than Survivor 41. It's a lot better than Survivor 41, in fact. Like, there's just so many things about Survivor 41 that I just did not enjoy. And thankfully, most of that was left off the table in Survivor 42. Now, I know some people are going to be wondering, is the season woke like Survivor 41 was? Kind of, not really. Like, the wokeness is not necessarily the problem I had with this season. It wasn't necessarily the biggest problem with 41 either, but it was definitely something that brought it down. Now, this season, again, it doesn't have nearly as much wokeness as Survivor 41. I will say that. There is one moment in particular, though, that I will touch on that really got into more identity politics stuff, but again, I'll touch on that a little bit later. So I'll start with the things I liked about Survivor 42. First off, I thought the cast was much improved from Survivor 41. There were some really good characters throughout the show this time around. There were a couple duds as well, but not too many. So we'll start from the beginning. Jackson, he should never have been out there, I don't think. I mean, he had a medical condition that he lied about on his application, so yeah, it was an unfortunate situation, but he never should have been out there. It's a shame, too, because he seemed like a nice guy, but he just didn't really do anything. He was medevac the first episode, so yeah. Zach, he was somewhat funny, but also kind of cringe at the same time. Like, if he had gotten farther in the game, who knows how well he would have done. It's kind of hard to say. Mariah, didn't really think too much of her. She was just kind of there. Jenny I thought could have been good. I think she could have been a much better character had she made it a little bit farther into the game, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Daniel, loved him. He was a great pre-merge character, I thought. It's too bad he didn't get farther into the game because he was fantastic TV during the pre-merge. So I thought he was a fantastic character. Wouldn't mind seeing him again if they were to invite people back. Swati, I liked Swati. I thought she was fun to watch. She was fun TV. Number one, she was everyone's number one. That was kind of her whole gimmick. But yeah, I enjoyed her for what she was. And that was it for the pre-merge. And then we get into the merge, quote unquote, where they did the whole hourglass thing again. I'll talk about that. But yeah, Lydia, I thought Lydia was a fun character. She's funny on Twitter too, by the way. But yeah, Lydia was a fun character to watch. She was the type of person that could make someone laugh, kind of a goofball, afraid of vacuum cleaners, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But yeah, Lydia was fun for what she was. And then we get to the merge. So Chanel was someone that I thought had potential to be a good player, but she just wasn't. Like, She completely screwed up Daniel and Mike's game, more so Daniel's game, but yeah, that whole tribal where Jenny got voted out, like, that was pretty much her fault. Like, it just made Daniel be the one that looked bad. So, yeah. Yeah, Chanel, like, she had potential, but she just wasn't very good. Roxroy, kind of a dud, unfortunately. Like, I was hoping he would be better. He was kind of the guy that was, like, very brash, trying to be the leader, which is, like, very old school Survivor. And even then, like, old school Survivor, usually if you were the leader, you were a target immediately. But he made it all the way to the merge and probably could have made it farther had he not been screwed over by the whole 2 teams of 5 thing. But, yeah, Roxroy, a bit of a letdown in terms of gameplay overall, though. Tori. I loved Tori. She was one of my favorites this season. She was chaotic. She seemed sweet at times, but at other times she was just all over the place. She got caught looking for an idol on day 1, almost got voted out for it, and then ended up making it farther along into the game. Won a couple of immunity challenges. That was great, including one that undoubtedly saved her. But yeah, I love Tori. She was chaotic. She was fantastic TV. Also, one of the most attractive Survivor contestants of the season, for sure. But yeah, love Tori. She was fantastic, and would love to see her come back and play again. The way she went out was very unfortunate and infuriating as well. But again, I'll get to that a little bit later. And then we had Hai. Hai was kind of the wannabe power player, and I thought he was fun to watch while he was out there. Kind of cringe at times, but overall, good player, I would say. Drea, I really wanted to love Drea. I thought she had a lot of potential to be a fantastic player, but she was the one that had to bring the identity politics into the game, and that made me lose a ton of respect for her. So, yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. I wanted to like Drea, but I just can't really get behind her antics after that. So, yeah, not one of my favorite contestants on the season. And then you had Omar. Omar was another guy that I thought was a really good player. Honestly, out like past the merge, he was really the only one that I think could have won the game and been higher in winner rankings than like 20. Because the final 5, like, yeah, they were fun characters, but they just weren't that great of players. But yeah, Omar was like the last great player to get voted out this season, I would say. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back for a later season. I thought he was fun to watch. Lindsay, surprisingly good challenge competitor. Again, not the best player in the world, kind of in the middle this season a lot of times. I mean, she had a comeuppance later in the season, but for the beginning she was just kind of there. But like her rivalry with Jonathan, I thought was great. Very fun TV, fun to watch. So yeah, great competitor overall, I would say. But strategy-wise, kind of in the middle. And then you had, of course, Jonathan, who was my favorite player this season. I thought he was fantastic. Really good at challenges. Basically carried his entire tribe through the pre-merge with the exception of one challenge. Like that one challenge where the water was just so choppy and so rough. Like, it was amazing to watch him. He only won 2 immunity challenges, which was surprising. He lost a couple to Lindsay. He placed second in a lot of them, though, I will say. He lost a couple to Lindsay. He wasn't very good at puzzles, which was kind of his undoing in a lot of these challenges. And then, of course, he choked in that final immunity challenge, which I do wonder if he had won that challenge, who would have gone to the end? Would it have been Mike and Marianne in fire with Mike moving on? But yeah, there's that. Romeo, he was another dud this season. Just was kind of there. He won the final immunity challenge. That's really all he did all season. He didn't really do anything else. He was just kind of there as a goat. He was just weak in most challenges, again, except for that last one. But yeah. And then you had Mike. Mike was another favorite of mine this season. I really liked him. And he seemed like a good guy, too. Like, he was very likable. A lot of the cast really liked him, so I commend him for that. Overall, great player, I think. And then you have Marianne. Marianne as a winner, to me, is kind of meh. Like, I didn't really mind her in the first part of the season. Then she got kind of annoying later on. And then, again, Final 9 Tribal, which we'll get to. And then she didn't really have her comeuppance until the Final 6 when she orchestrated that blindside on Omar. Like, that's really the only time she made a big move, I feel like. She was on the right side of the numbers for a lot of the vote, but she didn't really orchestrate any moves herself. She just kind of piggybacked off Omar for like a lot of the post-merge, and then she got rid of Omar, and then from there, like, the Final 5 was just so weak, like, gameplay-wise, that, like, there was really nothing that anyone could do to beat Marianne, I don't think. Now, would I have voted for Marianne? Probably not. I think I would have voted for Mike. But, again, like, even if Mike had won, he wouldn't be any higher than, like, 25 on winner rankings. Like, out of the 40 winners, I think the highest spot that any of the Final 5 could have gotten was 25. Like, I just don't see anyone as in that top 5 as a great winner. Like, Jonathan, he may have been my favorite this season, but he just wasn't that great of a player, strategically or socially, so yeah, like, even if he had won the game, it would have been very hard for me to put him, like, above 30, I would say. But yeah, Marianne is kind of, like, around 25 to 30, I would say. Like, probably closer to 30 in terms of winner rankings. She's not all that great. She's better than Erica. I will say that. She's a lot better than Season 41's winner, Erica. Erica did almost nothing that entire season. I don't know how the hell she won. She was up against Deshaun and Xander. Either of them should have beaten her, in my eyes. But yeah, Marianne, like, she would have been my second choice. I will say that. She was a better player than Romeo, but I don't think she was better than Mike. I think I would have voted for Mike. Marianne, like, again, more satisfying than Erica, but overall just kind of meh as a winner, I think. So yeah, there's the cast. Some of the moments this season. There was I think it was the third or fourth tribal council with the whole rock drawing shenanigans, even though they didn't actually go to rocks. Like, there was a tie vote between Jenny and Lydia. Hi didn't waver, so he wanted to vote for Jenny. And then Mike and Chanel couldn't vote because Mike had an idol that he couldn't yet activate. And then Chanel, she had gone off to the private island and risked her vote and failed to come up with it. So, yeah, that was unfortunate, but, like, you would think logically. I forgot if she knew about Mike's idol or not. I don't remember if she did or not. But if she knew about Mike's idol, the logical play there was to protect your vote, because you know your tribe's going to tribal. You know they're going to tribal. You know you're going to vote somebody off. You're in an alliance with Mike and Daniel and Jenny, so you would think, protect your damn vote, and then you can just go to tribal and you can vote with Daniel and vote Lydia out, because that was her intention. She wanted Lydia gone. She would have sided with Daniel and voted Lydia out. So yeah, like, that was good TV for sure, but it was also kind of stupid of Chanel to do that, and ultimately it made Daniel look bad, and that ended up blowing up Daniel's game completely. Like, he was voted out at pretty much the next tribal council, I think. Or was he voted out after Swati? I don't remember, but yeah. Yeah, I will say this, Shot in the Dark was used a lot more this season. There were several instances of the Shot in the Dark. You had Zach using it, Mariah using it. I think Tori ended up using hers at the Final 9. So yeah, there was that. And then, of course, after the Final 9 tribal, there was the Final 8, 7, and 6, which are all fantastic tribals, by the way. Like, High getting blindsided, like, he thought he was on top of the world, then he got blindsided. That was fantastic. Drea, like, that whole tribal was fantastic, even with the do or die twist coming back. Lindsay survived that, and then Drea went out playing all her advantages. She tried to steal her idol from Mike. Mike ended up giving his idol to Omar before tribal, and she ended up losing that. She tried to vote out, I think it was Mike. She tried to vote out, yeah, because Jonathan had immunity, right? Yeah, Jonathan had immunity. So yeah, she ended up trying to vote out Mike with two votes because she had an extra vote as well, and then she ended up getting voted out because of it. So yeah, there was that. And then the Omar Tribal. The only thing I feel like could have made that tribal better was if Lindsay had played her idol on Omar. Like, that's really the only thing I think could have made it better. If she had played her idol on Omar, yes, it likely would have cost Jonathan the game because he probably gets voted out at that point. I mean, I don't really know because Marianne had played her extra vote on Omar, so that's 3 votes on Omar cancel out. And then the rest of the vote was split between Romeo and Jonathan. So at that point, Omar is safe. Lindsay has immunity, so she's safe. And then it really just becomes Mike, Jonathan, Romeo, and who else? And Marianne. Like, they were the ones, and then they were the ones who would have been on the chopping block. Obviously, Romeo and Jonathan got the votes, so it would have been between them. So Jonathan and Romeo would not have voted. I think Omar and Lindsay still vote Jonathan, and then Mike and Marianne probably, like, does Marianne flip her vote at that point? I don't know. I think Mike still votes for Romeo. Marianne probably does. I don't really know. And then we go to Rox. Like, that could have been a Rock draw, maybe. Although, I feel like Marianne would have flipped her vote on Jonathan because then it would have been between her and, Mike for drawing Rox. They were basically the swing votes. But yeah. Yeah, so there was that. Like, that was a fun travel, though, overall. And then after the final 5, it kind of went downhill from there. So yeah, there were some great moments this season, for sure. The challenges. Tori winning a couple of immunities I thought was fantastic. Lindsay versus Jonathan, like that whole rivalry, I thought was fantastic. I loved that. I loved watching that. But not only in the challenges, but in the game itself. I thought that was a fantastic rivalry. And it made for some really good TV. And then of course you have Jonathan and Lindsay at the final 6 after Omar was voted out. Like, I love how Lindsay was trying to blame Jonathan. Like, she was getting all mad at Jonathan because Jonathan never told her. And then Jonathan was just like, you voted for me. And I thought that was kind of based because he's right. She voted for him. She wanted him out. So, like, I don't know what Lindsay was getting mad at there. Because Jonathan, like, she was voting for Jonathan. And then, of course, you have the fire challenge between Mike and Jonathan. Not as entertaining of a fire challenge as season 40, I don't think, or even season 41. But, yeah, still a good challenge nonetheless. Poor Jonathan, though. Like, I don't think he would have won if he had made the final 3 with Marianne and Romeo. But it would have been cool to see him there. Considering how big of a challenge beast he is, like, you would think he would be, like, the Joe of the season. Like, the Joe Anglim, where he wins all these challenges. As soon as he loses one, he's out of the game. Like, you would think Jonathan would be that guy. But no. He made it all the way to the Final 4, which I think is really impressive. So good on Jonathan for breaking that challenge beast stereotype and actually making it that far. And he didn't even have any idols or anything. He didn't even have any idols played on him. So good on that. Good on him for that. Now, of course, I have to get into the things I didn't like about this season. So, like I said already about the cast, there were some duds like Romeo, Roxroy, Jackson ended up being a dud. And, like, Drea, I didn't like as much. Like, she was kind of cocky. Lindsay was kind of cocky as well, but she was at least a decent player. But, like, a couple of things really brought down the season for me. One, the finale. This was an underwhelming finale because I predicted almost everything that was going to happen. I did not predict Mike winning immunity at Final 5, but I did predict Lindsay going home. I kind of figured that was going to happen. Even if Jonathan didn't have immunity, I figured Lindsay was on the bottom. She was gone at that point. I did predict Romeo winning Final 4 immunity. I predicted somehow that was gonna happen. He was gonna take Marianne to the finals, and then Marianne was gonna win. Like, that was predictable. I pretty much knew Marianne was going to win after Final 6 because the edit, like, raised her up, put her up on this pedestal, like, just completely put her up on a pedestal as, like, one of the best players ever, which I don't think she is that, but that's what the power of editing can do sometimes. They made her look like the best player, so I pretty much knew she was going to win from that point forward. So, yeah, there's that. And I know for a fact that the Survivor Facebook group that I'm in is going to be sucking her off until Kingdom Come, because that's what they've been doing all season. They've been praising the crap out of her and just completely raising her up on this pedestal like she's some queen or some flawless player or like one of the best players ever. They've been acting like that, even though I don't think it's the case. But what can you do? And, of course, some other problems with this season. They brought back some twists I don't like the stupid hourglass twist. Thank God that's never going to happen again, because now the people on Survivor 43 know that that was a twist on 41. Like, they're not going to intentionally throw a challenge, I don't think, because that's what the twist would do. It would make it so that people would intentionally throw a challenge. So, yeah, hopefully that we never see that twist again. Do or die. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that again. I don't like that twist, and it hasn't worked so far, so yeah, like, who cares? I will say this, the amulet twist I thought was cool. It's too bad it never really came into fruition. Like, Lindsay ended up getting an idol, which is cool, but she didn't end up using it. Like, I thought that was a bad move by Lindsay. She should have played her idol on Omar. I mean, Omar would probably have won the game at that point, but she would have gotten rid of Jonathan at least. And then they could have gotten rid of Omar at Final 5. Also, one thing I'd like to point out. Apparently Omar found an idol nullifier. Why wasn't that in the show? Like, at least show it. I know it wasn't used, but you gotta show things like that. So yeah, that was disappointing that was never shown. I would have liked to at least see that. But it wasn't even aired, apparently. So yeah. That was kind of a letdown. The final tribal, that was a letdown. Like, what happened to outwit, outplay, outlast? Apparently it's social, physical, strategic now. I mean, it's always kind of been that, but still, the theme was always outwit, outplay, outlast. Like, why are we not using that format? And now we get to the final 9 tribal, and this was the lowest point of the season for me. This was easily the worst moment. So, here's what happens. Here's a brief summary. Roxroy was just voted out. He finished 10th. Like, I guess we'll go into a background real quick. So it was final 10. They were split into 2 teams of 5, right? So, and then one person on each side wins immunity. Jonathan won immunity on his side. I forgot who won on the other side, no, it wasn't Tori, because Tori was voted out at final 9. But yeah, I forgot who won immunity at that point. But yeah, basically, Roxroy was voted out because he wanted to form an all-guys alliance. And then you have Hai and Omar saying, like, oh, it's so misogynistic that this guy wants to form an all-male alliance. I don't want to be a part of that. So, yeah, apparently an all-female alliance is like, yeah, slay queens, let's go. But an all-male alliance is misogynistic, apparently, because that's the world we live in 2020, but whatever. I mean, I didn't really care for Roxroy anyway, so I didn't mind him getting voted out there. So he was basically voted out because he was a misogynist. That's what happened. But of course, then the other team comes in, and it's Lindsay, Marianne, Tori, Drea, and Jonathan. Jonathan has immunity. Drea and Marianne also have idols. Keep that in mind as well. And the plan was to get rid of Drea at that point. Jonathan proposed the plan to both Marianne and Lindsay. He wanted to get rid of Drea. And of course, Lindsay, for whatever reason, didn't seem to be on board with it. I don't know what the hell that was all about. Like, I guess she thought Jonathan was, also kind of being misogynistic in a way because of the way he talks to women. But, I mean, I don't really understand that, but whatever. The plan was to vote out Drea. And I believe he talked to Tori about it as well. Like, let's get rid of Drea. She has all these advantages. It was a perfect plan to blindside a big power player in the game because she had like 4 advantages. Like, why wouldn't you want to get rid of that? But then, of course, Drea comes in, sees Roxroy is on the jury, and was just voted out. And she decides to play the race card, because why wouldn't that happen? And of course, Marianne, being a black woman, jumped on board with it. It's like, let's just throw out our entire strategy of getting rid of Drea that night because there's 2 black people on the jury. So are we just gonna let our emotions come into play now? Like, come on. Marianne had nothing to fear, by the way. Like, she wasn't going home. She wasn't even going to go home after that. But, of course, you have Drea, who thinks that she's about to get voted out because she's black. Like, that was just so ridiculous. And, like, I guess it's fair in a way. She said she was going to play her idol. Okay, fair enough. You can play your idol if you really feel that you're going to get voted out because you're black, and you say you're going to play your idol. Fine, whatever. And both Marianne and Drea did play their idols. They did the honorable thing, which I can commend them for. Great. I'm glad they at least play their idols. Because if they had, like, it would have pissed me off even more if they had decided not to play their idols. And then Tori gets sent home because of that. Like, that would have pissed me off even more than what actually happened. So at least they played their idols. They did the honorable thing, and Tori played her shot in the dark, so she ended up going down fighting. So there's that, at least. But yeah, still, it was just such a bitter way to see Tori go at that tribal because of that. Like, come on, Drea. You were not going to get voted off because you were black. You were going to get voted off because you had 4 freaking advantages, okay? That was the only reason you were going to get voted off that night. Not because you were black. It had nothing to do with your race. And then Marianne, like, I don't understand Marianne, like, why Marianne jumped on that. It was such a perfect plan. Get rid of Drea, get rid of one of the most powerful players in the game. It would have made Jonathan, Marianne, Tori, and Lindsay all look like great players. But no, Drea just has to ruin it for everybody. So, yeah, that was super annoying to watch. Like, it wasn't uncomfortable, it was just really annoying because they just threw away their entire strategy. And I'm so glad Jonathan called it out. Like, Jonathan was like, what, you think we're just inherently racist? Like, talking to Marianne and Drea. Like, he was like, hey, Drea, you think we're just inherently racist? And then, of course, nobody listened to him. Like, Drea and Marianne refused to listen to him. They just kept talking over him. Yeah, it was so annoying. Like, it probably ruined Jonathan's game, but I'm glad he had the balls to actually call it out. So, good on him for that. But yeah, that was the low point of the season for me. I wasn't a fan of that at all. I mean, fair enough, Drea, if you think you're about to go home because you're black, so you decide to play your idol, fair enough. But still, just so annoying that they would even bring up the race card. And the funny thing is, Roxroy wasn't voted out because he was black. He was voted out because he was acting misogynistic. He was voted out by a group of minorities, by the way. Mike was Puerto Rican. Omar, I believe, is Muslim and also gay, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Hai was gay and Asian. So yeah. And then of course you had Romeo on that team as well. Also a gay Latino man. So yeah, he was voted out by minorities, and yet Drea, for some reason, thought that all the black people were being systematically eliminated. Which made no sense, but, I mean, she played her idol, so I can't really fault her, I guess, too much, because she did the noble thing. So yeah, there's that. And then the last thing I want to cover is, can we please get rid of that stupid excuse for a reunion show? Like, I'm sorry. That's just awful. They did it in 41 as well, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Bring back the pre-jury members. I would have liked to see more from someone like Daniel or Swati or even Lydia, who was also voted out pre-jury. So, yeah, I want to see more from players like that. So, can we please never do that again? I really hope they go back to that. I hope they go back to 39 days as well. I hope they stop with all the horrible twists. Like, the journey up the mountain thing, I always thought was fine. The Beware advantage, okay, whatever. But, of course, then the problem with that is you have a tribal like the Jenny's boot where you get voted out and you end up having to expose yourself because you don't have a vote. So, yeah. But yeah, overall, 42, I thought was a much better season than Survivor 41. Definitely an improvement. There were some very frustrating moments for sure, like past the final 5, the final 9 tribal, and some of the twists and advantages coming back. But overall, I thought it was a decent season. So, for its final score, I'm going to give Survivor 42 a 7 out of 10. Alright, and there's my review of Survivor 42. So, what did you guys think of it? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Survivor 42. And where would you put it on your Survivor rankings? Do you think it's better than 41? Do you think it's worse than 41? Do you like the season? Do you hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content to come in the future, although there's not really much more because the only video I have planned right now is a Q&A. And yeah, make sure to go back to that video that I made last weekend and leave your questions down below. Leave your 5 questions. You have until tomorrow. I'm filming that tomorrow, so yeah. And make sure to hit the thumbs up button on this video if you enjoyed it. And make sure to stay tuned for the Q&A tomorrow. Until that Q&A video, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember, stay California cool. Peace.